So this is where I normally shoot my YouTube videos. This is how it normally looks. By the way, stay tuned to figure out what these boxes are for. And this is gonna be the setup in action. This is kind of like your behind the scenes angle. Now let me show you it in true form on camera. And what you're seeing right now is the true in action angle of this setup. This setup is actually relatively new. I just kind of switched up the design in the last video and I really like what it is right now. So let me show you around. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually my camera setup. So if you take a look, you can see that I use the Sony a7 III as my vlog camera, my film camera, and just my general footage camera. And on top of that, in this particular room, we have the Tamron 17-28 lens because it's a wide lens and this room is actually particularly narrow, so we want to make sure that we're able to get this background, this setup, as well as me in a good depth of field. As for my camera settings on the a7 III, you can see that the shutter speed is 1/500. Now that sounds like a lot, right? But the reason for that is because I'm ramping that way up to capture the true colors of the lights out here in the back, the nano leaves and the pavo tubes, and I'm compensating for the darkness you would usually get with the 1/500 with my key light. As for my actual aperture, it's going to be f2.8 just to get a bit of separation from the back, that bokeh, that blur if you will, and that focus on me. And my ISO I think is at around 250, something like that, because that's all I need to really make sure that I can edit and have enough light in post. So the next thing we want to talk about in our camera setup is the audio capture, and what we use to capture audio here is the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. This mic is freaking awesome. It turns on and off with your camera, so you never have to worry about that. It's a directional mic, so it'll capture whatever's in front of it super crisply. And you want to make sure in this setup, especially because it's narrow, it's really easy to be super close to the mic, which is good because you'll get awesome audio quality, but you don't want to be so close to it that you actually start peaking your voice or whatever audio that you're capturing. Now, another thing, if I take a step back, is that this camera is just on a generic travel tripod. It's a Jollykin tripod, super stable, super sturdy, yet affordable, and it can bend over in whatever direction that you want because if you look at this ball head, it's just super fluid. With that being said about this setup being sort of in a very narrow room, there is a little bit of echo, but usually music, some super slight sound editing tends to fix all of that. Okay. So let's try this out. If we just make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys definitely subscribe because you know I'd love to have you. And let's actually start talking about the lights in this room, such as this guy. Now before we get into all the cool background lights, the RGBs, the orange and the blues, the complementary colors and all that cool stuff, we're gonna talk about the boxes. Do you remember the packages that you saw in the beginning of this video? So those boxes actually contain the most important light in this whole room, and that light is actually gonna be right in front of me, and it is the huge softbox, the 35 inches in diameter. It is the Aperture 300D Mark II. We just got this today, so this is actually the first time I'm ever using it, and hopefully it looks great. It should. It's built to really overpower everything. It's a super powerful light so that I have the correct or the right lighting situation at all times, and it really helps bring out the colors in the back while just focusing on me. Now that you guys know what my key light is, the main light in this room, we can talk about the fill lights, which are these RGB colors in the back. And you can see on my left we have an orange tube, and on my right we have a blue tube. These are actually called Nanlite Pavo tubes, and they're just super adjustable RGB tubes, any color, super bright, and you can adjust the dimness of it all. I love these things. They're super handy for not only room setup, but also just general photography, general video, and creating cool sets. Also, they make me feel like a sword person, an anime protagonist. You know what I'm saying? We just give it a pose. Some of you guys may have picked up on this already, but I do take a lot of inspiration from Peter Lindgren in terms of the aesthetic here. That's where the Nanlite Pavo tubes came from. But I also take inspiration from gamer setups. I myself am not that much of a gamer, except for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, favorite game of all time. If you're with me, make sure you subscribe because we're gonna get along. But back to the gamer thing, that inspired me to get the nano leaves. I love the tech vibes of things, and this just adds that much flavor to it. And actually, this poster right here on my left is a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild metal. It's Metal Guy's poster. You hear that? And that just also adds to the whole vibe of the room. If you want to see how you can kind of create like this poster layout with the hexagons and stuff, I'll leave a video for you guys right up here. And the last bit of fill lights that set up the background is actually the desktop itself. And that's just gonna be these animated wallpapers on the screens. We have Itachi Uchiha setups because we love Naruto and the Uchiha clan stay reppin'. On top of that, we do have the strip lights on the side of the desk, as well as the, oh, that's not good. That was not good. As well as the RGB on the computer itself. That really helps out just to give a little bit of more tinge, if you will. By the way, I forgot to mention this, but actually one of the coolest ways these lights add on to this room is actually the reflection right here in the window. And if you take a close look, you can see that these lights are really nicely just reflecting in the window for the setup, for the vibe of the room, and it makes sure that corner doesn't look empty at all. If you're interested in my desk setup, like the actual computer specs, the desk build, so forth and so on, I'm gonna leave a video to the room tour, which you can actually see the process and the details of this whole room right up here. Now what we're gonna do actually, since you guys know the key light and the fill lights in this room, we're gonna turn them all off and on just to see how that affects the look. This should be pretty sick. Comment down below, guys, what you think of my YouTube filming setup. Definitely make sure you subscribe because, like I said before, I'd love to have you and we're gonna create awesome stuff together. Next time, guys, Wednesday. Take care.